America, a land of towering achievements, defining moments, and stories that shape the world as we know it. But, what if I told you that behind every headline, behind every applause, there are figures, unsung, unrecognized, almost invisible, who quietly changed history? Today, we uncover the secret figures behind America's biggest moments. Let's start with one of the most iconic moments in American history. July 20th, 1969. Neil Armstrong takes that small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But, did you know that behind that step were thousands of mathematicians and engineers, many of them women, whose work made the impossible possible? One of them, Katherine Johnson, a mathematician who calculated the trajectories for Mercury and Apollo missions. Her equations weren't just numbers, they were life and death. Yet, for decades, she remained largely invisible to the public eye. Imagine, a room full of people, calculators in hand, pencils scratching paper, shaping a moment that would define humanity's reach for the stars, while the world cheers for someone else. Why does history favor the spotlight, and who decides whose story is told? Or, take another defining American moment, the March on Washington, 1963. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words echoed across the nation. I have a dream. Powerful, inspiring, iconic. But, behind that dream were countless strategists, organizers, and advisors who made it real. One name, Bayard Rustin, a brilliant strategist and advocate for nonviolence who taught King the methods of protest that would move a nation. Rustin's presence in history books is minimal. Why? Because he didn't fit the narrative the nation wanted to celebrate at the time. So, here's a question for you. How many stories of change go untold because someone's identity or circumstance doesn't match the narrative we're comfortable with? Fast forward to the tech revolution, the computers, the internet, the devices that dominate our lives. We celebrate the jobs of Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. But, did you know that much of the foundational work behind these empires came from lesser-known innovators? Take Radia Perlman, sometimes called the mother of the internet. She invented the spanning tree protocol, which keeps networks functioning. Every time you browse, stream, or send an email, you're benefiting from her brilliance. Yet, her name rarely makes the headlines. Isn't it strange how society elevates the figurehead, the face on the box, while the architects of the system remain in the shadows? Here's a did you know moment. During World War II, hundreds of African American women, known as the Hidden Figures, programmed early computers at NASA to calculate rocket launches. They weren't just supporting the mission, they were making history. And yet, if you didn't watch the movie, you probably never heard their names. How many moments like this exist, hidden just beyond the spotlight? Why does this happen? Why do so many histories remember the visible, the celebrated, but forget the quiet masterminds? Perhaps it's not accidental. Perhaps history itself is curated by those in power, by the media, by culture, deciding who deserves the narrative and who remains unseen. And here's the real question. How would the stories of America change if we finally gave the hidden figures their rightful place? Take a look at these names. Mary Jackson, one of NASA's first black female engineers. Grace Hopper, a rear admiral and pioneer in computer programming. Or Norman Borlaug, the man behind the Green Revolution in agriculture, whose work helped save over 1 billion lives. Yet most of us have been farmer de stan, adedatse de frander, would ben non tonnaver. And these people weren't just supporting history, they were building it, shaping it, and defining it, quietly, without recognition. And the more we dig, the more we find the stories. So compelling, so astonishing, they make us question, what else are we missing? Maybe the lesson here isn't just about the past, it's about the present and the future. Because for every hidden figure we uncover, there are thousands more waiting in classrooms, labs, and offices, making history without fanfare, without applause. So, here's a thought to leave you with. When you read about history, when you celebrate a hero, ask yourself, who else made that moment possible? Who did the work, carried the risk, yet was left out of the story? History is never as simple as the headlines. It's complex, layered, and often deliberately incomplete. And the more we question, the more we learn. So, which hidden figures should we uncover next? Who else shaped America and deserves to be remembered? Comment below with your suggestion, because the stories we choose to tell might just change the way we see history forever. Don't forget to subscribe so we can continue uncovering the stories history almost forgot, together.